America's largest teachers union vows to teach critical race theory from coast to coast, regardless of the law. One day later, they delete the statement, but not their intent to do it. When it's easier to pretend it's not there than it is to defend it, best just move on, America. I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie, and this is the inimitable Dr. Duke Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show. We are the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses, everything from pre-K to graduate school around the world. Today's show is sponsored by Mike Lindell and our friends at MyPillow. Can you remember the last time you had a great night's sleep? Well, MyPillow wants to give you a great night's sleep every single night. Besides pillows, they sell sheets and towels and bathrobes and slippers and dog beds. Simply use the code Dr. Duke, D-R-D-U-K-E, that's D-R-D-U-K-E, and you can save up to 66% on MyPillow merchandise. Again, use our very special code Dr. Duke, D-R-D-U-K-E, and you can save up to 66% on these great American products. Okay, today we start with the useless, politically driven teachers unions and the latest ploy to simultaneously reject and promote critical race theory indoctrination in the classroom. So this is classic liberal deception. This is bait and switch. This is liberals being shook by the larger progressives who are controlling them. So what happened? We had this ongoing meme in the news as moms and dads all across the country rush to school boards to read them hell about the indoctrination that's going on in the schools. All of this critical race theory, all of this, you're white, you're racist, you're a bigot, America's nothing but an irredeemably racist country, the flag, the founding fathers, the Constitution, our whole history, free markets, capitalism has to be removed. In other words, unless we become a socialist Marxist nation, we cannot be redeemed. All the school boards have been ignoring the question. They've let the parents scream and shout, buzz them after 90 seconds, they go sit back at their seats. And interesting, the mainstream media has decided to take this angle. MSNBC in particular, but CNN, all over the liberal media universe, they're saying there is no such thing as critical theory in your kids' schools. It's this Marxist holdover. It's something that law schools are doing, not American public schools. In other words, they're lying to you. They're looking into your face, lying right in your face, that critical race theory is not going to be in your kid's school. Right in the midst of all of this, the second largest teachers union, the American Federation of Teachers, signs a document at their conference, their yearly conference, which says, we're going to teach critical race theory in all 50 states, every single school district, and there's nothing you can do about it, and state law will not stop us. This lasted for 24 hours. When the MSNBCs and the CNN called them and said, hey, we got your back, we're lying for you, we're telling everybody it doesn't exist, it's made up by right-wing lunatics. Stop saying you're going to do it. And within 24 hours, that whole statement from the convention was completely canceled.
All right, well, let's start with the convention. It was held at the end of June, right up until that 4th of July holiday, which some of us in America actually still celebrated, but probably not most of these teachers union members. So it was the National Education Association's annual meeting. Most of it was virtual because they're all scared of COVID and such. President Biden, basically other President Jill Biden also spoke, and they talked about critical race theory. But at the convention itself, they actually discussed business items attacking you, mom and dad, if you have any sort of qualm about what they're planning to do and what they have been doing. In fact, they had new business item number 2, which dismissed any outrage from you, mom and dad, you grassroots parents, claiming that the critics of the, critical race theory, saying mom and dad who see what critical race theory is, as just being well-funded conservative groups. The item actually said, the attacks on anti-racist teachers are increasing, coordinated by well-funded organizations such as the Heritage Foundation. We need to be better prepared to respond to these attacks so that our members can continue this important work. NEA also, by the way, adopted new business item number 39, which is a measure that vows to, quote, share and publicize through existing channels information already available on critical race theory. So there it is. It exists. They wrote it. How can it It's new business item number 39. And they said of what critical race theory, what it is and what it is not. So they're trying to hide under the guise of the what it is not, even though we all know what it is.
Well, and the reality of this is that what always amazes me about and I've said this so many times, if you're a faithful listener to the Dr. Duke Show, I apologize for my repetitiveness because you've probably heard this a lot. But whenever there's news about these school boards, these teachers unions, no one's ever talking about math and science. No one's ever. When was the last time you heard anybody in the school stratosphere talking about actual education?
Oh, I know when they talk about math and science that it's racist.
That's racist, right? All you hear about it is how math is racist, science, the empirical method is a holdover of white supremacy. Those ancient Greek white dudes working on the Pythagorean theory 2,000 years ago, 2,500 years ago, they were bigots because they decided that rightness was more important than, I don't know, incompetency when it comes to numbers. This is the world we live in. And when not only are they lying to your faces, right? I mean, they were caught in a lie. Their whole convention was about critical race theory. One thing that Katie didn't mention or didn't elaborate on, they also say they're going to persecute people who are going to persecute. They're going to persecute people who disagree with them. Anybody who gets on their list, anybody who through ordinary channels, she says, anybody out there who is protesting critical race theory, we're not just going to report on them. We're not just going to research them, but we're going to try to hurt them. We're going to try to punish them. We're going to try to out them for being against anti-racism. And again, the euphemism anti-racism, whenever you hear it, isn't anti-racism. It is racism in the service of fighting racism, which is a very dangerous thing.
And let's just note that Becky Pringle, the new president there over at the NEA, was so excited, introducing Joe Biden and being, just clutch with them.
Did you forget to call her Dr. Jill Biden?
Doctor.
Did you? She worked
forgot.
really hard for that, Katie. As
her
you know,
Delaware doctorate.
Those degrees in education, those PhDs in education, such rigorous stuff.
Yes, so Becky Pringle is just like her counterpart, essentially, over there at the AFT, the American Federation of Teachers, Randy Weingarten, who we've talked about numerous times. Well, it just was noted there, Randy Weingarten, that she makes more than $560,000 per year, which is 9 times the average teacher salary. So teacher union presidents.
She gets more than $500,000 a year to lie to you like this clip.
Critical race theory is not taught in elementary schools or middle schools or high schools. It's a method of examination taught in law school and in college that helps analyze whether systemic racism exists, and in particular, whether it has an effect on law and public policy.
The very same time she's telling you this, her convention, the NEA's convention, are plotting ways to punish anybody who stands against this, finding ways to implement this in all 50 states, every single school district, without exception, is what they said. And she stands there for $500,000 a year and lies in your face.
And Mom and Dad, get ready, because if you thought, okay, their convention's done over with, I don't have to hear about them for a little while, they're going to be back in action, full-fledged, on October 14th, which would be George Floyd's birthday, because at least the NEA said they intend to, and I'm sure the AFT does as well, to join with Black Lives Matter at school and the Zinn Education Project to call for a rally this year. So they're going to rally. So does that mean all the teachers are going to be off school?
The fact that you're picking George Floyd's death day is critical race theory. The fact that you're pairing with the intellectually vapid Black Lives Matter intelligentsia is critical race theory. So they're taking the day of St. George of Floyd's birthday, basically, to come out to talk about how there's no such thing as critical race theory. This martyr for the cause, George of Floyd, who apparently was held down by Roman soldiers, pumped him full of fentanyl, right? That was the way they martyred him. And they're teaming up with the Howard Zinn people? Are you kidding me? But there's no critical race theory here.
We know that whiteness is a lot of things. Now it's the devil. Kind of like Bobby Boucher's mom said. Did you get that reference? You're an Adam Sandler fan. Bobby Boucher.
Ma.
Whiteness is now the devil. It's being pushed in teaching of race by way of a children's book. You can see a man reading a children's book. This children's book is at least 30 public school districts from 15 different states, and it's called Not My Idea. It's a book about whiteness. You know it's good when it's not my idea, a book about whiteness. And we know that this is happening because Christopher Rufo, who is doing yeoman's work, basically, he reported on this book being in all these different schools. It was published back in 2018 by Daughter Press, and it's written by a progressive children's author named Anastasia Higginbotham. Higginbotham. And apparently, here's the plot. A young white girl wrestles with the issue of race after seeing a news report of a police officer shooting and killing an unarmed black man. I've not heard this story before. Dr. Duke, have you heard this story before?
Does that happen?
The child tries to get answers from her white family members, but they either remain silent or make excuses. So she sets out on an educational quest herself, first discovering the harmful reality of white supremacy in America and then resolving to dismantle it. Toward the end of the book, the author writes that whiteness is a bad deal. It always was. And that's in response to a devil holding out a contract building you to whiteness. As you can see there's a contract with whiteness.
And before you move on, so that's one of the last images of the book. And what have you got? Notice the orange hair of the devil. So behind a $20 bill was Andrew Jackson's face. What political party did he belong to? He was a Democrat. That's right.
Democrat.
So you've got basically the devil in his hoofs. You can see in his hoofs and his.
Well,
you can see his hooves and you can see his forked tail. And then notice the flame orange hair at the top and the Donald Trump hand coming out from around the $20 bill. So you got clearly the devil is Donald Trump. And clearly the contract with white supremacy is Donald Trump's fault.
Well, yes, but in case you didn't read into that imagery, it does have a little speech bubble that says, dude, we can see your pointed tail.
Whiteness is a bad deal. It always was. All right. Here's a contract binding you to whiteness. You get stolen land, stolen riches, special favors, and then there's a little footnote that says land, riches, and favors may be revoked at any time for any reason. Whiteness gets to mess endlessly with the lives of your friends, neighbors, loved ones, and all fellow humans of color for the purpose of profit. The only price is your soul. Sign below. Dude, we can see your pointy tail. Yeah, who do you think is trying to make this deal? Not an angel.
He goes on to say, one of the things I love most about this author is that she helps kids and families talk about hard topics, like death and divorce. This book is about whiteness. Think white supremacy, fairness, resistance, and justice. It's told from the perspective of a child who sees TV coverage of a police shooting and has some questions. And he claims, because apparently this is what his channel is about, he focuses on white kids and families, and he says, my understanding is that it's written this way because Caucasian parents often don't know how to talk with their kids about race and racism. We're often lost. This book is meant to help with the talking.
Yeah, so one of the contract statements you have to sign on to, white people endlessly mess with all their friends and neighbors and people of color for profit. How does the average American white family do that? How does that happen? And isn't it interesting that he can read that to you as if he's not white?
He may identify as something else.
It doesn't
I don't
apply
know.
to him.
No. He's
no.
on
this
the
is
good
all
side.
all the real
He's
Caucasian
the
parents.
angel,
Yes,
not the devil.
I see.
But Christopher Rufo, by the way, tweeted all the whistleblower information about knowing that this book is in these schools. And so he gave us that list. And you can take a look for yourself if you want to go on Twitter. But, I mean, there's a variety of states included. Washington, Illinois, California, New Jersey, Montana, Wisconsin. And they even put a list on their, like, what's the distribution of this book? And most of them say that it's recommended reading XYZ. So it's being recommended across the nation. We like to encourage and applaud the parents who are brave enough, I guess, or care enough about their kid to stand up to these school boards and all the crazy critical race theory. And we have another example of a father who's eviscerating, as the headline states, critical race theory. His name is Ian Rice. He's a black father from Caledonia, Michigan. And he said the discussion of race theory is meant for collegiate level at best. And even at college level, it's meant for law schools, like specifically talking about law, not your English class, your history class, your everything class.
This is interesting. You have Randy Weingartner said this, right? That there's Randy Weingarten says this, right? That we would never put this in the high schools, middle schools, elementary. This is college level. This is law school stuff. This dad says, yeah, that's right, it is. The irony is the dad's fighting critical race theory in his school, which isn't supposed to exist. Oh, and I love the use of the verb eviscerates, but my only question would be, to eviscerate is to rip the guts out.
Yeah.
Can you really do that to the modern American school? Do they have any guts at all? But guts and testicles, the modern public school, two things that they are sadly lacking in.
Well, they discuss testicles all the time.
They do, but in a very different context.
This is
Let's
true.
hear this dad go off on the school board.
What is your criteria to educate the educators? And who are you to educate my children, or any of our children, in life issues? That's our job.
Yes.
Your job is to teach them math and science. Our job is to teach them about life. I believe racial issues and tensions across the U.S. are nowhere near what they used to be decades ago. Do we have a long way to go? Sure. Do we still have individuals out there that need to be taught? Absolutely. But I believe the people here don't look at me as a black man. They look at me as a man standing in front of you addressing an issue that we all are very passionate about.
That's right.
And that goes back to my earlier point, which is this. No one's talking about math and science. I mean, nobody cares. So what the public schools have decided is, we're going to be mom and dad. We're going to ignore everything else and make your kids left-wing ideologues when it comes to whiteness. We're going to get your kids to hate their whiteness. But nowhere in there is anything about what Dad said. Our job is to do that. Your job is to do that. And I guarantee you, if the public schools had to choose, the public school administrators, the superintendents, the Department of Education in Washington, if they were given a choice, we'll keep giving you your money, even though you're not worth it. We'll keep giving you all this taxpayer money, but you choose. You either teach our kids math and science and reading, or you teach our kids to be racist. They will choose racist.
Oh, for sure. Now, what Ian did wrong there was speak calmly, logically.
That's only what, don't white people think that? Katie, question. Isn't that how white people speak?
Apparently.
Is that whiteness?
The simple fact that he acknowledges that we have a long way to go,
That's
as
right.
do a lot of people. Yes, there are individuals who are racist, but when you put it out there as the whole system is racist, that's where everything falls apart. But here's what's interesting. We didn't show the exact clip, but at one point he said how critical race theory is teaching his kids. He's got 2 children in the school, that all white people are bad. And he said, that's not true. That would teach my daughter that her mother is evil.
That's right.
Oh, mic drop. So what happened was he explained a little story about how his daughter was pulled aside by a teacher and said, you're a minority, you understand. Like that white people.
Wow.
All the time, maybe not knowing that, realizing her mom is white, her dad is black. And then I guess at that, the audience kind of was like, whoa. And then Dad said, yeah. And then they pulled my daughter aside, the administration, school people, to basically not punish her, but like scold her for not agreeing with what the teacher was saying.
Right. You should know better. In other words, a white teacher says to black girl, mixed race young girl, you should know better because you're part black. Why am I, the white liberal, having to convince you who are black and therefore automatically ought to think this way? Notice the uneducational racist assumptions of the teachers.
And this is exactly the entire point of what Ian was trying to say, is that, okay, we have teachers, they are not equipped, they are not educated to educate our children on these topics. And he went on Fox News and said the same thing.
Our teachers are not equipped. Not that they can't be educated, but they're not equipped at this particular time to educate our kids in that manner. And nor do us as parents want our kids to be taught in that manner.
Let me play Randy Weingarten, okay? Because they told you what they're going to do. They're going to take dads like this, and they're going to investigate them, right? So Randy Weingartner, here you go. This young man, Ian, he's not black. He doesn't have a black name. He's got a Scottish name. If he were really black, he would be called Jaquatia or something. But he's not black because he's been given a white name and a Scottish name. He has a white wife, which, of course, according to O.J. Simpson, is sleeping with the enemy. So that mitigates his racial bona fides. He's also got half-mixed babies. that he cherishes the white as well as the black part. Randy Weingarten would tell you, this is exactly the kind of troublemaker we're going to out on social media. This is the kind of challenge. And did you notice how calm and cool collective he was? How incredibly white and not black. No hands going everywhere. No Fred Sanford. I'm coming to join you, Elizabeth. Did you notice how white he was acting up there in his button-down Oxford shirt? These are exactly the kind of parents we have to out for the good of critical race theory in the public schools. Okay, time for Instant Classic now. And I'm sure many of my audience, but not all of you, have seen the video I would like my producer to roll right now. And this is the theme of all week Instant Classic. A young boy and a mom on very expensive bike, an expensive scooter, designer clothes. The young boy stops, picks the flag out of the ground, looks disgusted at the house that has it, flings the flag to the ground, and mom and son go back to their little suburbia utopian. And this is apparently exactly what mom wanted. Mom is proud of her little boy for doing this. This video has already been seen about 4 million times. And my theme for Instant Classic this week is what happens when you educate kids this way? What happens when you use the most powerful force in a child's life, education? You use it to get them to hate, not to love. To despise, not to appreciate, to be entitled, not grateful to the nation that has given them so much. I mean, that's a prosperous street, beautifully manicured laws. We've got a young mother, we've got a young boy she on her 10-speed bicycle, he with her little helmet, he on his little scooter. This is Americana. And rather than defend the flag, stop to pick up a fallen flag, this kid feels utterly entitled, completely empowered by trashing the flag. And you know the other thing about this? Even if you hate the American flag, you would think a responsible mother would counsel her child that other people's property are not yours to destroy. But no, this hip young mother is all for it, apparently. No consequences. The child's doing it in the full view of mom and looking for approbation for having done it. It is a shocking statement. Now, take a look at this quote from Sam Johnson. All week we're going to look at educational theorists and what they say. How dangerous can be education when it's in the hands of the wrong people? Johnson wrote in the 18th century, "The supreme end of education is expert discernment in all things." The purpose of education is to teach children to be experts in discerning one thing from another. Better from worse, true from false, right from wrong. Every aspect of American education has warped this. Quote, "The supreme end of education is expert discernment in all things, the power to tell the good from the bad, the genuine from the counterfeit, and to prefer the good and the genuine to the bad and the counterfeit." What that mom just did, even if you, as an American, have a right to burn your own flag, to vandalize somebody else's property because you don't believe what that stands for, is in every way ungenuine and unethical. And this is where we are today.
All right, if you enjoy our content, please consider joining the Patriot Club. Your one-time $99 tax-deductible donation allows us to keep bringing you stories every day. Simply visit patriotclub.us to get signed up. That's patriotclub.us. And of course, as a little thank you, we will ship you our signature tumbler. Now, before we go, let's show some love to our Patriot Club members. And today, we'd like to give a shout out to Miguel from Palm Bay, Florida, all the way down south there in Palm Bay. Miguel, thank you for supporting us.
Miguel, thank you so much. I don't know if you're Cuban, but one of the great ironies of American history is you've got a little boy like that, spoiled, entitled, in the richest country in the history of the world, throwing somebody else's flag to the ground as if it was trash. Now you've got Cubans in Florida and in Cuba who are wrapping themselves in the American flag to protest communists. You can't make this up. And that's our show. For Freedom Project, I'm Dr. Duke. She's Katie. Until next time, stay educated, my friends.